I have a manipulative, abusive ex-boyfriend, and he's manipulating my mother so that I get back with him and marry him, and now my mom's trying to convince me, guys, he said he's going to pay her $1 million to be able to marry me, and I'm scared he's going to pull this off somehow because he's rich, and my mom might disown me if I say no. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all having a good day because clearly I'm not. Since the last 4 days, my life has turned upside down and I don't know what to do next. I'm here because I have no one whom I can share my problem with. So I request you all to be nice, as I would really appreciate that. Sorry, I did not introduce myself. Hello, my name's Riza. I'm 25 years of age, and the day before yesterday I got into a fight with my mom. Like a big one. And for the first time ever, she put a hand on me. She slapped me. Hard. Even when I'm writing this to you, I'm sobbing as I never expected this from her, and it still feels like a nightmare. Let me tell you all what exactly happened. For the last 4 days, my mother has been after my life to get married to Ron, claiming that he's a wonderful guy and he'll change my life for the better. Now, you may ask, oh, well, who the hell's Ron? Well, he's my ex-boyfriend, and obviously we're not together. My mother did not take this well, and since the time that I've been back from the university, she's been forcing me to reconcile with him. Okay, so Ron and we actually started dating when we were in high school. And trust me, we were everybody's favorite couple. You know, how they seem like they're in the movies and that, but eventually all this came to a horrible end, as in the start I never understood him like, well, I should have. However, my mother always appreciated him for many reasons, as he was the university top. He was good at everything, and it comes from a well-off family. So she always told me to stick to him, as he would care for me in the best of the best way possible. I used to agree with her until the present scenario. So, when I came back home, my mother sat me down and asked me about my future plans, and I actually had thought that came out of concern, to which I replied that I wanted to work. She simply rejected my plea and asked me to get married to Ron. I was taken a bit back and told her that I didn't want to get married to him, but she was being persistent and I rushed to my room all crying and everything. So, the next day she again began with the same drama of getting me hooked on with Ron, and we got into another argument which did not end well. She called out to me and said that I was a self-centered girl who only thinks about her welfare and everything. I couldn't understand her, so to make her stop with all this rubbish, I had to tell her that Ron and I broke up and now there's no scope for marriage in our relationship. She got furious so much that she locked me in my room for 2 days and I was starving throughout. I was not able to understand why she was doing this. As a mother, she should respect my choice of not wanting to marry him, but she kept forcing me. I kept banging the door, begging her to get me out, but she did not even listen, and I'm shocked that this is what we have came to. She simply told me that I should not have broken up with him and everything, as he was way out of my league, and that I would not find a suitable man, not after him. I know all of this sounds like a major confusion. Let me brief you with a bit of a backstory. As I mentioned, Ron and I met during high school, and we shortly began dating after that. At first it seemed like the perfect relationship, but then it turned into a bad scenario. This might trigger a lot of you, but since we've been together, he has been extremely abusive to me. Yeah, you read that right. The first he hit me when we had our prom was when he saw me talking to some guy. So he took me somewhere private and hit me on the face, called me characterless. That was the first time I felt regretting everything we had. I went back to my dorm crying, and later when he showed up at my door and simply gaslighted me into believing that I did the wrong thing, talking to the guy that he was right to hit me as he loves me. Of course, back then I believed him and just wanted to save the relationship, but all of this became persistent. He started abusing me in consistent manner, both verbally and physically, and there was this one instance where he called me a slur in front of his friends and asked me to take it as a joke, as a relationship is supposed to be funny. Whenever we used to be in our personal space, he used to beat me up for messing up something in a very terrible manner, leading to a number of cuts and fractures. My life with him was nothing less than a proper living hell. He used to manipulate me to sleep with him, and whenever I refused, he used to slap me hard. One day, he also admitted cheating on me only because he was mad and always came up with an excuse that he would never do it again. He used to insult me in front of his parents and Used to call me bad things constantly and just always made fun of how I used to dress up and everything. Day by day, his aggression had magnified so much that he threw a cup of hot water at me, which had burned my wrist. It was painful. I feel that the only mistake I made while I was with him was that I never took a stand for myself and always defended him. But coming from that perspective of a young adult, who would want to save the relationship, right? So I did the exact same thing. When I was done with his physical and mental torture, I told him that I wanted to break up with him, to which he responded in an extremely hysterical manner. He claimed that I'm nothing without him, and that I'll always come back to him. I was so over him that I broke up without letting anyone know. He screamed his lungs out and asked me not to, but I simply came back home, which also was a bad decision because of my mother. The moment I entered, the first question she asked me was about that jerk, to which I chose not to reply as I didn't want to put out that detail yet. When my mother let me out of the room she had locked me inside of, she asked me again to get married to Ron always, and naturally I refused again, which made her angry. And that's when she slapped me, which gave me a bruise on my cheek, and I was heartbroken. I think it's in my destiny to be abused like that. First Ron, and then my very own mother? Out of everyone, I actually had that thought that Sam, my mother, was going to be supportive and would ask me to live my life however I wanted to. But I guess what? I was wrong. She told me that I did not have an idea as to how to seize good opportunities in life and that I would end up with nothing. So this is what happened. The major reason for me telling you all this is that I could really use some genuine advice. I believe that my mother is up to something. Something that I have no idea about. I mean, obviously, guys, the way she's been persistent for the last few days is very unusual. And trust me, she's never done this before. Like, never. All of this seems extremely fishy to me, and all I want to do is understand her real motive behind forcing me this way. Do you think Ron is behind all this? Because somewhere down the line, considering the kind of man, he can definitely pull out something like that. I leave this to you all. Please, tell me how I can figure this out, as all I have right now is mere confusion. Update number 1. Hey guys, I hope you're all keeping well. I honestly thought I would not be able to update you after my recent post, but the comments were so overwhelming that I had to be here. So it's been exactly 11 days since my last post, and I finally found the time to update you all with all that happened, and this one is a major update. First, I'm so grateful for all the love and support that you've all sent my way, and honestly it helped a lot, and I'm so sorry about the fact that most have had to survive with abusive relationships and all. My best wishes to you, and to all those who are identifying me as an attention seeker. If I had to do that, I would have done that a long time ago, back at taking a stand for myself and humiliating Ron in public. I mean, right? So please don't pass baseless judgments because people like you clearly don't know what I want through these years. Anyways, coming back to the update. So, as I had told you all, my mother is up to something, and guess what? I was right. I got in touch with my childhood best friend Edward, who helped me figure out everything. I told him everything that was going on and actually offered to help. So, coming to the part of what actually happened. With Edward's help, while my mother was not at home, we installed a camera throughout the house in the hopes of finding out something, and when we were doing it, I actually had a terrible feeling about doubting my mother. But I had to because I was suffering the most. At the same time, I was hoping to prove wrong that my mother just wants the good for me and everything, but no. That was clearly not the case. So, after we finished setting up the camera, Edward told me to keep a close check on her, especially her bedroom, and I went along with it. 2 days passed and I did not catch anything, so gradually I decided to give up, as everything seemed pretty normal until I saw something fishy. Her phone rang, and it was Ron she was talking to that day. I observed her through my computer, and she was also carrying a file in her hand and making some changes in it. To me, if I remember clearly, it seemed like our property file. I was confused as to why she would talk to him regarding all this, but I observed more closely, and yet I could not figure it out. So I became more careful and started observing her every 10 minutes. She was always found doing bizarre calculations, talking on the phone, and now my plan was to check her phone. She went to take a shower, and without giving it a second thought, I went directly to her room and checked it. Luckily, it was unlocked, and I was shocked to see her call logs filled with Ron's contact. All this time, they've been in touch constantly. Now, I'm sure you all must just be thinking, well, what for the reason? I opened her text messages and got the biggest shock of my life, and I'm still not able to process it, really. The only reason my mother was persistent on me getting married to Ron was because he was offering a lot of money for me, and that along with me, she would also sell the entire property to him, and she was planning to move to another country for a luxurious vacation and perhaps settle down there for the rest of her days. I literally fell on the ground. I thought I was going to break down or something, but somehow I managed to gather myself back up. How could she do that to me? She was ready to give her daughter to an abusive man just for the sake of money? And that moment I failed to recognize that she was the woman who gave birth to me. Ron offered her a deal to move out with a huge ransom so that he could marry me, and that too without my consent, and my filthy mother just agreed to this casually. Now, I understand her preoccupation with the property file these days, and who knows, she might have sold the house already, and I'm the next target. I mean, at this point, I'm not even surprised. However, I continued observing her actions daily, and saved each and every action she took, including the fact that she was going to force me to sign the file as half of the property belonged to me. At the same time, I also connected her phone to my laptop by syncing her messages with my laptop, and it served as an advantage to me, and I was able to record her conversation with Ron and all the messages and everything. Guys, at that moment, I have no idea as to what shall I do, as she would not let me leave the house that easily until I accept Ron's proposal or whatever. So please, guys, help me and tell me what I should do. Update number 2. Good afternoon, everybody. A week has passed since my last post and a lot's gone down. I know you probably wanted to know what I did finally, so here I am, back with another update, and I apologize for taking so much time for the same. This one is a major update. Oh yeah, thank you for giving me the courage to accept everything that happened. It did mean a lot to me. Anyways, coming back to the update, as you all suggested, I should confront my mom. So I did, and trust me, it was not easy. It took me a lot of time to even stand up to her despite the fact that I did not do anything wrong. So I called her to the living room, shouted at her, and confronted her about why she put me through all of this, and of course about the money. She remained silent at first, but then I showed her the text messages, and I clearly saw the ego on her face. She said that because she sent me to the university, she went into debt and she does not earn well enough to have the luxury that she desires. So she deceived me and decided to comply with Ron. Basically, she agreed to sell me to him. I got furious and broke down in front of her and asked her why would she do this to me. To which she simply replied that she never wanted to give birth to me in the first place, and that was never satisfied with me. She also told me that she only, had a good decision that I made was to date Ron as he was rich and could have easily maintained the lifestyle. I opened up to her about the abuse, to which she replied that I should have adjusted and stopped complaining. She threatened me that she would get married to Ron forcefully and I would not be able to do anything about it. I decided from that day on I would not spare any of them, so I came up with an idea. I told my mom that I was ready to marry Ron and I went upstairs. She was so happy, and of course, because now that she's going to be rich, she hugged me and called up Ron to give him the good news. He showed up at our place and apologized for being mean. That's what he said to me. Mean. And promised that this would never happen again. As soon as he took out the ring to engage, police showed up with a warrant against both of them. They were shocked, as if it was unexpected for it. Obviously, Ron went hysterical as soon as he was in handcuffs. He shouted about the fact that he did nothing wrong, but they said that they have proof, and now he cannot back off from it. He tried to run away, but was eventually caught, and the biggest plot twist yet happened when even my mother got arrested. She immediately looked at me, knew that I was the one who called the cops, and since there's no escaping now, they simply had to leave with the police. Now, guys, I know you all must be thinking about how it all happened and how Ron got arrested and everything, so basically I had to start recording Ron after the first time he hit me. And whenever it happened, I always recorded him through that small little camera. I used to click myself with all the bruises and everything. Not only that, I even had the medical reports of my injuries, which were sufficient for the cops to arrest him. Oh yeah, as for Sam, Edward reported her as I already sent him all the CCTV footage, which had everything including Mother's manipulation with the property file and of course her text messages that she used to send to Ron, and the chats and call recordings as well. LOL. I think I won. When they were taking Ron, they even threatened me that he would come back for me, but honestly, now I'm not scared of him whatsoever. And as for my mother, I believe it's her karma that landed her in such a predicament. I would rather be an orphan than live in her presence. I would like to thank everybody for being patient and waiting for the post. Goodbye, everybody. Final update. Update number 3. Hey guys, it's me. I'm back for another update. Well, get this. I hope you remember me first. I actually never thought I would come back. Well, here I am, 4 months, and honestly, I had totally forgotten about the update, but when I was getting so many messages regarding the aftermath of them ending up in jail, I decided I'd go ahead for an update, so here it is. So for exactly 2 weeks, I was living alone in the house, and it was so good that now I did not have to think about Ron or even my mother, for the matter. Ron's parents did show up at my door, almost begging me to take my complaint back. His mother claimed that Ron could never do anything like that, and the fact that I was lying, so I smashed her face with all the evidence that she could handle, the recordings, everything that I had, and she could not even blink an eye. As she had always had this perfect image of her baby boy, the way he faked himself in front of everyone, she broke down in tears, asking me to release him for their sake. Even his father apologized and asked me if I could do anything about it, but honestly, I didn't want to. After trying their best to convince me, they simply left. Their lawyers, also for that matter, threatened to take my case back as they were ready to pay me a huge amount, but in my mind, I was sure that I didn't want them to get out so easily, and I had no greed for money as such. Both Ron and my mother were creating huge scenes at the police station, as they started blaming one another for their current predicament. Due to this behavior, the police called me to the station. As they were placed in different prison cells, I had to visit them separately. First, when I saw my mother as a criminal, she looked extremely miserable. She saw me and started to cry as if somebody died. She screamed like a mad woman and had to be stopped by the police as she was going ballistic. What a drama queen. She asked me to get her out of jail and pay for her bail, as according to her, I needed her. Yeah, whatever. She said that she was my mother and that it was my responsibility to save her and all that, so I just told her that I would look into it and everything. Guys, the moment that I laid my eyes on Ron, he became furious and tried to attack me, but luckily the cops were present there and they stopped this monster. Even after being locked up for such a long time, he still did not even change for a bit. Such a disappointment. He asked me to get him out and to pay for the bail, as apparently his parents, who were begging me at this point, also refused to pay nothing for his release when they saw his monstrous behavior. Both of them actually begged me to pay for their bail and get him out of jail. I rejected their pleas as they did not deserve anything after what they had put me through. I just don't care at this point, and I wish them nothing but hell. Well, as for my mother, even when I said that I would look into the matter, I simply dissolved that idea and left them there rotting, as it was high time that I took a stand for myself. Also, I moved to another city last month, as I got a new job, and thus far it's been going pretty swell. This is going to be my final update, guys. I'm just so grateful to be a part of such a wonderful community, as you've all been so supportive since the very get-go. Anyways, good night.